Welcome to Saturday Morning Live on the Thursday afternoon edition. And our guest today, we are expecting John Sealey MA, our great friend, and we'll be talking about stress reduction. John has written several books, more than several, he's written many, in fact, and dealing with everything from being stuck to recovering from a number of traumatic events that generate obviously PTSD. John has had uh, PTSD stimulators events on many occasions, and he's quite well adept at being able to talk about how to get through it, how to work through and continue and grow and maintain productivity. While we agree there's not a cure, um, we also agree that there are ways to handle it, to deal with it, to move forward. And John is quite well adapted at being able to tell us his story and how he has managed to get through on several levels and become quite successful. You may wonder why you're not seeing my happy face today. Well, as luck would have it, I have my radio face on today. So I kind of am into going back to the days of radio when I can show up and tell you about my nice new radio tie and happy haircut and clean cut shave. And I'll let you wonder whether, in fact, that's the case or not. So, welcome to radio, WMRCstudios.com. Um, Throwback day. But I'm waiting for John, hoping he's going to be able to get on with us today. John comes to us um, from out in Baja, California, and we are here live on the East Coast. So the weather out there is indicative of the morning, actually, barely afternoon, lunchtime right now out there, and we're not sure what's going on out there. So we're going to give John the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the paper that John wrote, his article. He has 5 ways to de-stress, and one is obviously take deep breaths. It sounds simple, but it's one of the best ways to clear and calm your mind. Uh, a crucial first step to banishing hopelessness. And right there, when we talk about hopelessness, um, I think we're kind of now zeroing in on some of the things that one of the big things that John and I and everyone in the know will agree that the state of feeling hopelessness, the idea that we're hopeless at the moment, is huge, and that's our first obstacle to overcome. And I'm getting a signal that John is now backstage. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to welcome John to the show here. John, hi, thank you. Glad you could make it. I was letting folks know that out in California, it may not be the same weather as we're having out here, and it may well be some things that kind of encroach on one's ability to join. But I'm glad you're here. So, John, I was just talking a little bit about your letter. Uh, I'm sorry, not letter, but article. And I was talking about the hopelessness state of being, I guess we should say. And I'll turn it over to you and ask you to take it from there for a little bit, John, please.
Sure, no problem. Um, yeah, I apologize for late. It turns out when you try to log in, you forget your password. Like I got to reset everything. It takes extra time.
Oh God, yeah, I
So
hate
that's what
that.
I was doing. I was trying to get in, and it wouldn't let me in right away. But the idea of de-stressing is something that's so important for people. Whether you've been in a war situation or just any kind of situation, life can be very stressful. I've actually had PTSD twice in my life, and I'm actually recovering from the second time right now. Um, so the point is, you can recover. That's the good news, and there are ways, and I'm going to talk about some of the ways for everybody to get a grip on what's happening. You oftentimes try to control things that you really don't have any control over. And so, what I'm going to do for you is give you some things that you can do that you do have control over that can help you to adjust with what's happening in your life. So, I'll tell you one thing: if you are in a stressful situation, sometimes what you need is a timeout. You need a break from whatever that is. So sometimes, if you're in the middle of a conversation, even you literally have to say, "I need a break," and you need to go to a separate area, and you need to take some deep breaths. And taking deep breaths, believe it or not, is a way that your body can readjust from the fight or flight mode that you're in when you're in a stressful situation, and get you back into a centered place. So the deep breathing is something that really allows you to get your body back in alignment with a less stressful moment of your life. So if nothing else, that's something you have control over. So you can literally, even if you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody, you want to stop right there and go like, okay, look, I need a break. I'm going to take some deep breaths, and I would suggest you take at least 5 deep breaths. And by deep, I mean breathe in it as far as you can, hold it for 4 seconds, and let it out slowly to a count of 6. And by doing so, your body's going to readjust. It's going to get out of that fight and flight mode, which is where it's causing all the hormones to rage inside your brain, and it's going to help you to calm down. So that's one of the simplest things that you can do. But it's a very important thing to do because when we're under stress, some of us work great under stress. Most people don't, and usually stressful situations are what cause accidents to happen. So something that you want to do is take that little time away. If you can, even if you're in the middle of something, walk outside. One of the best things you can do is to get out and connect with nature. That's something that really helps you balance. Nature's in balance, so if you can connect with nature, and this sometimes it's hard to do, especially in the cold weather. I'd say go walk in the grass and put your bare toes in the grass. Well, when it's cold, no, that's not something
Right,
you can do,
right, yeah.
you know. But you can connect with nature, just literally just to look out at nature, and take some short breaths on that. Just look at it and realize the miracle that you're looking at, and whether it's the sunshine, whether it's rain, whether it's a tree or a bush. It's just something that is miraculous that we are able to share this planet, and when you can reconnect with nature, that can help to calm you back down as well.
Now, John,
So
you mentioned, sorry to butt in, but you mentioned, I don't want to get too far away from this. You mentioned something about hormones and balance, and I wanted to just get back to the hormones part and ask you to elaborate. Give us some clarification there on what you mean. Like how,
sure, when
please.
when you're under stress, hormones are triggered in your brain that put you in the fight or flight mode. Actually, it's fight or flight or freeze. And what happens there is that's the reptile brain. That's the oldest part of your brain. That is not the good decision making brain.
Okay.
That is the one it's reacting like instinct, like someone's trying to kill you. Okay, I should either run away, or I should freeze so they can't see me, or I should fight to get out of this situation. And the hormones that adrenaline's one of them that's going to jump in there, and so that's why a lot of times when people are feeling the adrenaline rush, they're like, okay, and so they want to do something. Then sometimes they want to fight, and so they may start arguing, or sometimes they're going to want to run away, which and not necessarily any of them are bad, but not necessarily made as a conscious decision, but rather an instinctual one. And when you're doing that, sometimes you need to do that just to survive. But at other times, you can go, okay, no, I'm feeling stressed. I got that. And so what can I do? And that's why I'm giving you these. Here's the things you can do when you're feeling that way that can help you to take the adrenaline and breathe it. Like I said, you breathe deeply. That'll help to flush it through you so that you're not just on edge, feeling the need to actually do something.
Would
Um,
it, John, would it be reasonable to ask if like people find themselves stuck? And I know, your book Get Unstuck, which is a little different, relatively, but finding someone, people finding themselves stuck on this level, this would it be like a survival level? You know,
Yeah, it is a survival level, and the problem, I'll even separate it. Men are more likely to be in this mode than women,
okay,
and part of it is because men are not normally trained in how to deal with emotional stress. So then what happens is we're taught we can get angry, or we can fight, or we can run away. So that's what we're taught as in general as men, how to deal with emotional situations, and that's not necessarily the best thing to do, which is why I'm giving you alternatives. So a lot more men will respond that way, but women do too. It just depends on how the situation is, and each is individual. But the general response to a stressful situation, and literally it can be survival, or a feeling of that this is survival for you. And when that happens, I don't know if you ever heard of that. A mama bear will really attack somebody if they feel that their children are threatened.
right,
Well, the same feeling we get either when our children are threatened or when we feel threatened, that comes out. And so that is, again, is instinct. It is not one that is easily controlled. So that's why I'm trying to give you some alternatives of things you can do to slip back out of that into a place of control, and more calmness, because stress is a killer. Your body literally feels attacked when you're under stress, and some people are under stress like constantly. You can be under stress by your poverty, by feeling that your survival is threatened, because you don't have enough money to pay the bills, or because something happened and you have an accident and all of a sudden you've got to pay for this and that. So there's lots of different ways that stress comes to you, but the ways that you deal with it are the important part, that can literally turn your body around, turn your mind around, and help your entire life to flow much better.
right. So we're looking at when put into like the PTSD mode, and we're talking about for the most part, um, being in that constant survival mode where we're feeling like we're constantly under attack, and just to kind of put it all into perspective. So we're talking about ways to break through that, to get out of that.
Right. And
Right.
again, you don't have to have been in combat to have this experience, but people in combat generally do have something like this, that can last for years. I know people from the Vietnam War that still have, these triggers. So learning new ways to deal with it can really make a major difference. There's a lot of new treatments that are out there as well. I'm not going to go into all that right now, but I'll give you some of the basic stuff that can help you, whether it's PTSD or whether it's just a normal stressful situation or something that's particularly stressful for you. Moving for some people is one of the most stressful things that they can do. And I've moved 10 times in a year,
Uh-huh.
twice. So I know all about that, but I'm actually, again, I work well under stress, but not everybody does. And so what you need to do is have some of these alternatives that can help you. And like I said, sometimes people get so stressed that they turn to suicide. And so these can help you to get out of that realm so that you won't have to do that. That's what some of these are for as well.
Right. We want to
So
break that spiral.
yeah, because again, the problem with suicidal thoughts is that you don't think it's going to ever get better. That's the thought. You can't see a way out of the situation, and that's literally the first chapter in the Get Unstuck Now book. Is literally there's a way out, and the reason I wrote that way is because I've been there, and I've seen many clients who have been there, and they didn't have that message that there is a way out. They couldn't see a way out,
Right.
and the good news is, and one of the steps I talk about is to talk to someone else, and ideally someone who you can trust first of all. But if you can find someone that's trained in dealing with trauma, that's the best thing. But if you just have a really good friend that can listen to you, that's something. Because here's the benefit: they can see the situation you're in a different light because they're not in it. So
Right. Right. Right.
they can help reflect that, so that they can go, no, I can see a way out. And you go, really? And even though you can't, they can see it. as long as you trust them, then you can believe that there is a way out. You're just not seeing it right now.
Is that where the easy for someone else to say than it is for us when we're in it?
Well, again, the thing is, there are people who can be sympathetic or empathetic with you, and then there are others that aren't.
Okay,
So
right,
if you're
right.
talking to someone, it's not talking to just anybody, because some people go, "Nah, it's screwed. You're screwed." Why, you don't need to talk to someone like that when you're in a bad mode. So you want to talk to someone who's positive, or ideally even someone who's trained in it. And again, there's the toll-free numbers that people can call, that can get you into talking with someone who's trained and helping you with seeing what's going on for you and helping you to get past that.
Well, let's just put that number out. We have the newest one, and it's not only military. This is worldwide or nationwide, and it's the 988.1. So to dial 988 from any phone anywhere, and then once it's answered, take option one, and you'll be connected to a living, breathing person that will
Right.
be able
And
to
and someone who's trained who can help you through
right.
your situation, because um, a lot of therapists, there's great therapists out there, but not all are trained in trauma. So these people are, and of course I am, and I know a lot of other people that I personally know that are, but there's a number of them that I know that aren't, and they're very good for other things. But when you're in a traumatic situation, you want to have someone, ideally, first of all, just that will listen, just so you can feel heard, because sometimes that's enough. Because a lot of times people isolate when they're feeling stressed,
Hmm.
and that can be problematic in and of itself, because you feel therefore all alone, and like it's you against the whole world, and
Right, right.
that can be very overwhelming. It's tough to deal with the whole world. That's why you find someone else and use some of their strength, and ideally some of their guidance and some of their vision, that can help you to understand that, okay, it may not be the best situation you're in right now, but there's ways out of it, and we're going to find them, and you're not alone. So those are really important things to have.
That's huge, John, because you know myself. I know when I'm in the throes of a situation, um, it comes to tell me in my mind that you're all by yourself, dude. You're the only one that's going to experience this. You're all alone. You don't have resources. What you gonna do? So
I'll tell you what, though, sometimes just talking it out to someone else, you can come up with your own answer. They don't have to have the answers, but you're bouncing them. They're like a soundboard that you can bounce your thoughts off. And when you hear them out loud, sometimes that's enough for you to realize, oh, no, I see where I'm sorry, going wrong.
right, I've done that many times. And not even necessarily a negative or deep dark situation, but just an issue or a question. And as I'm talking to somebody, it's like, wow, well, there's my answer. Yeah.
Yeah, because as I tell people, I don't have your answers, but I can help you to find your answers, because I know the path to get there.
Right.
And I don't give you my answers. I don't tell you that, here's what I would do. And once in a while, if you ask me, well, what would you do? I go, well, I'm not in your situation, but and I might do this. But that's the thing. I'm not in your situation. Now, sometimes I've been in a situation very similar to that, and therefore I can offer you a benefit of, yeah, I've been there, and I know that it does get better. Sometimes you need time, sometimes you need distance, away from something to see that. I remember one time I was walking my dog, and it had been like 10 years after something had happened to me. And I got this great wisdom that came to me while I was walking the dog. And like, oh, now I understand that. And part of it was because I had been now separated physically, by time, from the event. And therefore I could look back as an observer and go, oh, now I see what was happening. And
Right.
that was just a realization that really helped me, to go, oh, and that's the thing. When you're in the middle of a situation, it's like you can't see the big picture because you're in the picture.
Right.
That's
Right.
why you want to reflect it with someone else who's outside of the picture, can look at that and go, oh, I can see what's going on. And they can help you then to see the same thing.
Now, and In your article, you mentioned about writing down your feelings.
Yeah, sometimes just to get them out of your head, because um, you know, when your brain's under stress, sometimes there's a whole lot of thoughts going on all at once, and so um, and sometimes you're trying to hold on to them because you're afraid you'll lose them if you don't. And so the best way you can do is write them down. So it's like I tell people, it's a brain dump. You're literally just going to dump everything that you're thinking. It doesn't have to be in any order. Just write it all down and put it on paper. That way, you don't have to worry about remembering it because it's right there. But by doing so, that can actually change the way you're thinking and feeling. Because first of all, you're clearing out the clutter that's in your head. And once you do that, you can think more clearly. But also by writing it down, you can see it. And by seeing it, you can go, oh, now I understand what's going on. Now I know what I'm thinking. Now I know why I'm thinking it. And again, it's not always that easy, but sometimes it exactly is that way. And you realize, oh, then, I don't have to feel X or whatever it is. But again, it's also great if you have a therapist or a coach or whatever, even someone else to talk to. Sometimes once you've written it down, you go like, here's what I'm feeling. What do you think? And they can look at it and go, oh, okay. Now that I understand what you're going through, and here's what we can do about it. So there's lots of benefits to it. But if nothing else, I tell people if you journal on a daily basis, one of the things you can do, you want answers to the solutions to your problems, to whatever is happening in your life. And sometimes I know that they're in your head. It's hard to believe it, but believe it or not, you know your answers. And sometimes because your ego's in the way, and there's a lot of fear and stress that is coming up and blocking that, by writing them out is one of the ways of doing it. So what I actually suggest people do is before you go to bed at night, your subconscious mind is going to be up all night anyway. So give it something to do. So tell your subconscious mind, here's what I'd like. I'd like an answer to whatever the problem is. And the important thing I usually say is, and I would like it to come to me with grace and ease when I awaken. And the reason I say that is because I've had people get the answer by getting into a car accident. They hated a job they didn't want to go to, and they got in a car accident on the way to work. Not really a graceful way to get the answer to, yeah, I should quit this job. So I always ask for grace and ease because it's much better than having something like that be the answer that you're looking for. So and then what I do is when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I start journaling anything that comes to my mind, which hopefully will be the answers. And I suggest people do that at least 4 times a week. And by doing so, you'll see a pattern develop and you'll see the answers come to you.
Now, this sounds really like huge. Can we go right back to the top of this part again, addressing your subconscious mind? This is great.
Yeah, in fact, I've got another way of doing it too. That's one way. Another way, there's lots of ways I know, but another way that I really like to do it, and people think it's kind of weird, but it really does work. It's like journaling, but it's a different way because here's what you do. Whatever the question is that you want answered, you write it on a piece of paper with your dominant hand, whichever hand you normally write with. Then you switch the pen into your other hand, your non-dominant hand, and you let it answer. Now, believe it or not, it will answer. And don't blame the penmanship because it hasn't added much practice. But believe it or not, the scribbling that comes out, and I'm actually pretty good at writing with my non-dominant hand now. I can even write upside down now. But anyway, is that it will actually come up with some great profound answer. And you'll know it's the right answer because as you read what it says, you'll go, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. That's how your subconscious mind can communicate with you, by using your non-dominant hand, because your dominant hands, that's an ego talking. Okay. And you need to get that other part of you to talk, which knows that your answers, but your ego is usually blocking it because it thinks it knows all the answers. Like, no, it doesn't. So what I tell you to do, switch hands, write it down, take your time again, because the penmanship won't be as good, and just take your time to write it out. But believe it or not, that non-dominant handwriting can be very profound and give you some really good answers.
That's incredible. This is the first I've heard of something like this. This is incredible.
I've
This
been
is
doing this for a long time, so I
wow.
just,
Yeah.
and the thing is, people go like, "Well, that wasn't in your book." I can't put everything in my head into the book. I put in I've got 9 books out there right now, and there are 2 more coming. So I'm getting there. But these ideas I use when I'm dealing with my clients, and sometimes they're not all popping out when I'm busy writing those books. So anyway, that's one of them that really does work. It's very profound, and people find it odd, but it really does work.
We just hit like on a profound purpose of the show to bring out new and relevant information, and that was a gold mine right there.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. I try to offer good content to people because, it's great to talk about a problem and say, well, isn't it fun if you do this? No, I want to, here's practical stuff. I give you, this stuff will work. So
Right.
that's the way I write. I want to make people aware that and I tell them it's a simple way. It's not the easy way. I didn't write my book called The Easy Way to Restart Your Life. No, it's a simple way. It's a simple thing to do, but it's really profound, and it's not always that easy, because sometimes when you get an answer, it's like you should quit your job, or you should leave your marriage, or whatever it is, and you're like, crap. And but that's right, and when you look at it, you'll go, yeah, you're right. And so that's when it takes time to get some courage up and to put some plans into action. And I got to talk about one more thing, since we're talking about these little profound little ways. So here's one way I talked about. We've dealt with this in the past, but when you have goals, and I do have a whole thing on goal setting, we're not going to do that right now, but there's a whole thing on, I call them SMART goals. And so any goal you set, the first thing your subconscious mind is doing, because remember, your subconscious mind runs your life most of your time. So 80% of your subconscious mind was programmed. It's like a computer. It was programmed by the time you were 8 years old, and another 15% by the time you're 18 years old. So only 5% was left for the rest of your life after you're 18. The good news is that 5% can rewrite the other 95%, but you have to be conscious of what's happening, both subconsciously and consciously. So, so part of it, when you want to find out what your subconscious is thinking, that's non-dominant handwriting is one of the ways it works really well. Because let's say that you've had a goal for a long time and you really haven't made a lot of progress. You're stuck. And I tell people, if it's been 6 months and you really haven't made any progress, then you're stuck. That's the definition. So there's a reason you're stuck. And the reason is your subconscious mind is not working with your conscious mind. It has a different agenda. And oftentimes it's exactly the opposite of whatever you're consciously saying you want. I'll tell you this about weight loss. That's one of the easy ways to do it. So if you've said that you really want to lose weight, and I tell people you don't really want to lose something because you can always find it. So what I tell people is you want to release weight. Just let it run free. So if you want to release some weight, let's say you want to release 20 pounds, and you've gone 6 months and you've tried different things and nothing's worked. It's still, all 20 pounds is still there. That means that there's another part of you that does not want to release the weight. And therefore, you need to talk to that part of you and find out what it's doing and why. So you literally need to ask the question to your subconscious mind, like in your dominant hand, why is it that we're keeping the 20 pounds on? And then you put your pen in your other hand and you let it go. And it says, it's because you told me to keep yourself safe. And this is how I'm doing it. And you're like, safe? Why am I safe? Because you're overweight and therefore no one's going to love you and you'll be fine. You'll be safe. You won't get your heart broken.
Wow.
And like, wow. Yeah, believe me, that's the kind of stuff that comes out. So what you have to do is say, first, you don't criticize that part of you, because that part of you has been doing a great job. It succeeded. So you thank it for doing such a great job of that. And then you give it a new assignment. Okay, now your new job is for me to release this excess weight and get back into the physical shape I was 20 years ago, or whatever it might be. And so, and you want it to work. Well, here's the other thing you have to know. Your subconscious mind is going to work with you if it has belief that you mean what you say. So here's where we go back to this other part, which we talked about in a previous time on the show, and that's about keeping your word. So your subconscious mind keeps track of every time you break your word. So it knows every single time. Other people might not know, but it knows, it keeps track. So that's where I came up with this little tool. It's called ADGR, which is absolute daily goal with reward. So here's what it is. It's a simple thing. What you do is you take a bigger goal, let's say to release the 20 pounds. And so one of the ways you're going to do it is by exercising 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week. Okay. And so to make it, you have to break that down into a tiny, tiny goal. An absolute daily goal is something that you know you can do no matter what. So that means let's break it down so small. You get to do 1 sit-up. That's it. That's your absolute daily goal. You know you can do that because at 11:59 at night, you forgot all day long. You go, oh, I got to do my 1 goal. You get your butt on the floor. You do your 1 sit-up. Ta-da! You've done it. Okay. You've kept your word. Remember, it's so important that you do this because when you set a goal and if you don't follow through, it's keeping track. And the reason it does that is because when you ask it to work with you, your conscious mind, it's going to go into the tracking of, okay, let's see how many times they said they're going to do it and they did it. Well, if it's a whole lot of no, they didn't, it's not going to help. So what you want to do is build up a track record of keeping your word. So you create these 8 absolute daily goals. Now, the hardest part for most people, believe it or not, is rewarding that little behavior. And the reason you're rewarding it is because, again, I told you, it's an 8-year-old that's running you most of the time.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So an 8-year-old does something, it wants a reward. All right. So if you've done your 1 sit-up, you reward it. Well, what do? Well, you don't eat a bucket of ice cream. Okay, that's defeating the goal. But what you could do is I can listen to my favorite song, my favorite CD. I could call a friend for 10 minutes. I could watch one of my favorite shows for a half hour. I could, whatever. You can come up. In fact, for most people, I tell you, write 12 of these rewards out, put them on a piece of paper and post it so that in case you're stuck thinking, I don't know what to do, you just look at your list and grab one and do it. Doesn't matter what it is. So you do that on a daily basis. Guess what? After a year of that, you've got 365 times that you kept your word. So when your subconscious mind says they're really going to try to do this, it looks back on the list, goes, yeah, they kept their word 365 times. We're going to help. And the thing is, it does not know size of goals. It doesn't matter. So when you pick a bigger goal, it doesn't know it's a bigger goal. It just knows you kept your word on the small goal. So we're going to keep their word on this goal. So that's how you can make some amazing things happen, but you got to get your subconscious mind to align with you.
That is like a whole new frontier, John. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I think one huge benefit, and I want to get into your books here in just a minute. Um, but I think a huge new chapter for our Thursday show might be to hear from some of our viewers and listeners about some of the things that they're really struggling with as far as um, wanting to move forward. And I mean, one of the most basic is you talked about wanting to lose weight, and I think there's probably 2 people in the whole world that would say, "Nah, I really don't care about that."
Don't forget, you're not losing it. You can always find it. You're releasing it.
There you
You're
right.
letting it run free.
There you go. We're gonna set it free. I think I could invite some listeners to give us some things that they're struggling with, and we could address it even anonymously. We're not trying to like put anyone on the spot, but we could do so anonymously. And I'm listening to the subconscious discussion subconsciously, and I'm thinking, wow, what a new tool! At least new to me, and I'm sure new to a lot of folks. That would be of huge benefit, and I think we could venture down that path a little bit.
Yeah. And by the way, the ADGRs are in the book.
Okay.
So a lot of the stuff that I talk about is in the books, but
Let's talk about your books, John, because we want folks to know where and how to get them.
well, first of all, I just want to say that one of the steps I tell people for reducing stress is to read something positive and inspiring. Well, I hope that that's exactly what my books are. So, in fact, one of them is called Keep on Believing, Stories of Inspiration, Courage, and Triumph. And sometimes you need that to read how other people have gone through sometimes the same thing you're going through. There's at least 25 stories in there, different people going through a lot of different challenges that they've overcome. And then literally at the end of every story, they do talk about, and here's what I learned from that experience, because sometimes we get a different message than they got. And I wanted each of the authors to say that here's what I learned by going through that. And sometimes people go, that's what I needed to learn too. I didn't realize that. And so it's really powerful. Anyway, you can find all these books on Amazon. And I think I sent you a list. You can go ahead and post that if you like. And yeah, we'll take questions. If someone wants to write in for the next show and just in advance and say, here's what I'm going through. Is there any advice for that? Or have you ever heard of what we can do about this or whatever? Yeah, we'll take those. And if you want to do it live, fine. I've done it many times. Otherwise, write in advance and then we'll pick them out. And if you want your name on, fine. You can put your first name. If not, we'll do it, discreetly. And we just want to, again, offer the help, because chances are if you're going through it, there's someone else is going through it too.
Right. Let me just put out an email address. We have a new email, really simple, and it's info.kzcvo@gmail.com. Again, that's info.kzcvo@gmail.com. We invite you to send in questions, comments, anything at all. Even I'd actually welcome my first piece of hate mail.
No, I think with what we're doing, hopefully that people are going to find such a benefit that there'll be a lot of positive stuff. But the other thing I want to say is,
Sure.
I don't know if you told people what my name is, or if they're going to listen to this or look it up or whatever. But on Amazon, you can type in my name, which is John, John Sealey, S like in Sam, Eeley. Then the initials M.A. And that will usually pop up my books.
Okay,
and of course,
yeah.
we can name them all, and I do have links for all of them, which I sent you. I'll send them to you again. You can post them for everybody.
Yeah.
To make it easy, they can just click on it, and it takes them right there. But the idea is, these books I've been doing for more than 25 years, and I've helped people in 44 different countries around the world to find ways to have a better life. And that's what we're talking about. And we're talking about breaking through and making a better life. And the last thought I want to give you about some ways of de-stressing is, it's really important that you be gentle with yourself and others as you're going through the stressful times. Because sometimes we get into that period of judging ourselves or others, and that keeps us in that stress mode. And instead of doing that, let's back off and get into the place of being gentle. Because Robin Williams said it. He said, "You don't really know what other people are going through." So, and people don't know what you're going through oftentimes, because again, we isolate. So be gentle with yourself as you're going through this. Don't expect that everything's perfect and judge yourself, and don't judge other people, because that's a way of maintaining stress. So I just want to have that thought as you're going through this. It's not an easy process when you're dealing with this stuff. Ideally, you find someone who can help you with it, but sometimes it just take these little steps yourself until you can get to that place. I hope we're still there. we got a little dead air. So
yeah, sorry, I was saying I hope we could go ahead and put your email, if you don't mind, let folks reach out to Wonders.
Right now the easy way to reach me is John at Blue Moon Wonders, that's plural, WONDERS.com. The website's down right now. Well, it's not. It's just not working like it should, and we've got some tech people working on that. But the email will get to me, and then if you want to put in the subject matter, from the show or this or that, or ways to distress or stress, dealing with stress, whatever it is, I'll try to capture that and respond to you if I can. If not, we'll have it on the next show or whenever I'm on again. That we'll try to talk about it for you, to give you some feedback and some answers.
That sounds real good. We'll try and establish. Well, we'll build some rapport going on with getting some folks that have some things they'd like to get answers to and send in on the email, and we'll build this so we're a resource for people out there. Um, John, thank you so very much for coming on again today. We've been great friends for quite a while, and I really love the information that you bring and your experience that you share your life's experience as well. It's very, very important and very appreciated.
Well, I talk to people about the fact that I've been down the hole before and I know the way out. That's what I'm doing for people is I'm giving back because it took me a while to get out. I try to help other people get out a lot quicker.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thanks again, as always, to our greatest of all time family of listeners and viewers here at the Kazern Community and Veterans Outreach and Saturday Morning Live with Sal Santori. We'll be on again next Thursday at 4 with John, and we'll continue from there and we'll talk about the goals and changes that folks might want to make. So don't forget, we're here live on YouTube at youtube.com/ at Sal Santori 2880. Facebook, Instagram, will be on Twitter, and eventually we may end up on TikTok should that come back. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. John, thank you again for being our very special guest. And as always, please remember, find someone to help.